Murder, assault, sexual grooming. Growing up in Hollywood seems to have devastating consequences, especially for these child stars. What exactly did these cute, charming kids get themselves into? Having starred in Diary of a Wimpy Kid as a child before making appearances in shows like Supernatural, iZombie, and Riverdale as he got older, it seems that Ryan Grantham had a promising future. But in September 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison for killing his 64-year-old mother, Barbara Waite. The actor was charged with second-degree murder, which comes with an automatic life sentence in Canada. According to CBC News, the then 21-year-old actor shot his mother with a rifle on March 31, 2020 in their Squamish, British Columbia home as she played the piano. The next day, he lit candles around her covered body and hung rosary beads from her piano. He then loaded his car with weapons and drove toward Ottawa in a plot to kill the Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Grantham also reportedly wanted to open fire at his school, Simon Fraser University. Instead, he went to the Vancouver Police Department and confessed to the killing. He stated during his 2022 sentencing hearing, "I cannot explain or justify my actions. I have no excuse. It hurts me to think about how badly I've wasted my life." In the early 2000s, Orlando Brown was known for playing Eddie Thomas on Disney Channel's That's So Raven. However, in more recent years, his name has been associated with legal troubles and substance misuse. In 2016, TMZ reported that the star had been arrested in Torrance, California for assaulting his then-girlfriend in a police station parking lot of all places. Brown had reportedly driven into the location during the argument, where a witness spotted the altercation and alerted nearby authorities. Once he was apprehended and locked up, police then found methamphetamine on the actor. The star was subsequently charged with drug possession with intent to sell, having contraband in jail, and domestic battery. 2 years later, he was arrested in Las Vegas for burglary after changing the locks of Legends Restaurant and Venue, owned by former Death Row Records singer Danny Boy. Brown was caught on camera entering the kitchen of the premises before covering the lens with a rag. According to TMZ, the two used to be friends, with the Come When I Call performer pressing charges against Brown as he thought it would be for the actor's own good. In 2021, the former Disney star said that he conquered his drug addiction after attending a Christian-based rehab facility.
Go, Eddie! It's your birthday! Shake your booty now!
Jeremy Jackson was 10 years old when he scored the role of Hobie Buchanan in Baywatch. By the time he was 35, he was arrested for stabbing a woman in her arm, legs, and back, as reported by ET. The violent incident took place in Los Angeles, California in 2015, when Jackson was accused of attempting to steal a vehicle that belonged to the woman's boyfriend. He was later picked up at a hotel and charged with assault with a deadly weapon, as well as criminal threats. He eventually bonded out and made a beeline to a rehab facility. Per TMZ, in 2017, Jackson received a 270-day sentence in the LA County Jail and 5 years probation after pleading no contest to the crime. During an episode of E's Child Star Confidential, released over a decade earlier, he explained how it was easy for him to get sucked into a terrible lifestyle after his Baywatch success. He explained, "I had the fame, I had the girls, I had the money, and I threw it away. My drug of choice was crystal meth, and it was big time downhill from that point on." Actor Lillo Brancato was given a 10-year prison sentence in 2009. The actor's first film was 1993's A Bronx Tale when he was 17 years old. From there, some of his other work included the film Crimson Tide as well as The Sopranos. 4 years prior to his sentencing, the actor tried to break into a house with a man named Stephen Armento, according to the New York Times. They were confronted by a neighbor, a 28-year-old off-duty police officer named Daniel Enchitegui. During the encounter, Armento shot and killed Officer Enchitegui, which earned him a life prison sentence. Brancato had already been locked up for 3 years at the time of sentencing, and while he initially faced a murder charge and life in prison due to the fatal altercation, he was eventually acquitted of murder. During sentencing, Judge Justice Marcus told Brancato, "While I accept that verdict in sentencing you, I cannot ignore the fact that as a result of the attempted burglary of which you were convicted, a brave young police officer is dead." Brancato was released from prison in 2013 and has since resumed his acting career.
Suppose so.
In 2021, at the age of 34, Jared Drake Bell of Drake and Josh fame was accused of sexually grooming a minor who he met online. Per the Associated Press, despite originally submitting a non-guilty plea, the actor later pleaded guilty to felony attempted child endangerment, as well as disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. Before sentencing, Bell stated via Zoom,
"I accept this plea because my conduct was wrong.
The California-born actor/singer was accused of having met the young fan online when she was 12. She alleged that Bell began grooming her via online chats and that she went on to attend one of his Ohio concerts when she was 15, to which the child endangerment charge relates. The woman, who was 19 years old during the trial, also claimed that Bell started sending her sexual messages after she turned 15, and they exchanged explicit photos. She added a claim of having engaged in sexual contact with the Nickelodeon star several times.
I'm sorry that the victim was harmed in any way, but that was obviously not my intention.
Bell received 2 years probation for his actions. As of 2022, the charges and guilty plea have seemed to affect Drake's career in a major way, as his acting output has slowed down. Marcus T. Paulk, who played mischievous little brother Miles Mitchell on the 90s sitcom Moesha, made headlines in 2013 after walking into a Los Angeles jail and turning himself into the police. At the time, he was accused of punching and kicking his girlfriend, Andy Rocks, so severely that she required hospital treatment for internal injuries. 3 months later, the former child star was charged with domestic violence and battery and was staring at a 4-year prison stint. However, after accepting a plea deal in 2014, he didn't serve any time at all. According to TMZ, he instead agreed to attend a year-long treatment program for domestic violence and was ordered to maintain a 100-yard distance from his ex-girlfriend Rocks. Unfortunately, that wasn't the last time Paulk got himself in trouble. 1 year after he managed to avoid jail time, he was arrested in Scottsdale, Arizona one night before the Super Bowl on a DUI charge as well as possession of marijuana. Paulk later pleaded guilty to the DUI while the weed charge was dropped. He was sentenced to 12 months of probation and had to complete an alcohol program. Edward Furlong became a child superstar after starring alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2. Sadly, as the years went on, drugs would highly affect his acting career. The actor also experienced legal run-ins as well, one of which took place in 2013 when he allegedly assaulted his ex-girlfriend in West Hollywood, according to TMZ. The woman already had a protective order against the actor in place, which Furlong violated during the assault. The incident brought the actor just under 3 months in jail. He was subsequently given 5 years probation, sent to domestic violence counseling, and had to complete 90 days in a drug rehabilitation program. During a 2022 interview with the Daily Mail, Furlong shared that he was 4 years sober. He shared that he had successfully kicked his drug habit after getting arrested for possession of an illicit substance and entering another rehabilitation facility in 2017. He also explained what went wrong after having so much early acting success. He explained, "When I was younger, I didn't have too many people looking out for me, and I was left to run wild. I didn't know how to manage my money. I was never a normal teenager. I had a very unnormal life. I was almost destined for drug addiction."
Yeah. Major drag, huh?
Before he was even 10 years old, Robert Blake already had a string of movies under his belt. Later in his adult life, he became a major Hollywood star, appearing in critically acclaimed films such as David Lynch's Lost Highway and Richard Brooks's adaptation of In Cold Blood. For decades, he was also a mainstay of television, starring in a variety of shows like Rawhide and Beretta. But everything changed for the actor in May 2001 after his 44-year-old wife, Bonnie Lee Bakley, was found shot and killed as she sat in his vehicle. After a lengthy year-long investigation, the actor was arrested. Per CNN, he pleaded not guilty to 1 count of murder and 2 counts of solicitation of murder. In 2005, after a 12-week trial, he was acquitted of the crime. Still in 2008, he lost an appeal against a civil suit filed by Bakley's family, where a Los Angeles court found him liable for his wife's death. Per BBC News, he was ordered to pay a reduced award of $15 million in damages, half of what was originally asked of him. As a child, Joey Cramer was exchanging dialogue with Sarah Jessica Parker when he starred in the 1986 Disney film Flight of the Navigator. However, as a 42-year-old man, his life would look a lot different. In 2016, he was arrested for robbing a bank in British Columbia. The Guardian shared the story and reported that Cramer had walked into a bank wearing sunglasses, a wig, and a bandana. Based on previous interactions that Cramer had with authorities, his attempts to conceal his identity didn't fool them at all. In a statement published by the outlet, a constable on the case explained, "Despite the fact that a disguise was used during the robbery, the suspect was quickly identified by some of our officers, who had recently dealt with him on an unrelated matter." Per Coast reporter, Cramer was sentenced to 2 years less than a day after already being locked up for 6 months, which was credited to him. He received 2 years probation on top of that and had to complete counseling and treatment for substance misuse. Speaking to the Daily Star in 2020, the actor suggested that serving time gave him the chance to get clean and start afresh. He said, "It was such a relief when I got arrested. I've come out the other side and I embrace who I am now."
Come on, let's get out of here.
Brian Bonsall was brought into the 80s sitcom Family Ties as Andy Keaton midway through the show's run, seemingly to add a cuteness factor. But the star's actions after the show ended were anything but cute. In 2007, he was accused of having assaulted his girlfriend in Boulder, Colorado. The former child actor claimed self-defense after saying she stabbed him in the arm, something she denied. But a 25-year-old Bonsall still pleaded guilty to the charges of second-degree assault and false imprisonment. Per 19 News, the victim said that he poured a drink on her face as she slept, choked her, and wouldn't let her leave. Eventually, the troubled actor received 2 years probation after pleading guilty to third-degree assault. If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction, please call the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Administration's 24/7 national helpline at 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357.